I'm Johnny Smith.
And I'm Richard Porter.
This is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things.
I don't know whether we should start with Corrections Corner. I feel like I haven't researched this, but at the end of...
It's always a good way to start the Corrections Corner.
let's do a mea culpa for all the bits we screwed up. No, it's at the end, on the sort of run-out groove of the last podcast, I just chucked in some after-recording chat that we had about Gulliver. Do you remember we were just laughing about Gulliver's Alphard?
Yes, I do.
I suddenly thought, but I said, Gulliver can't fit in cars because he's massive, was the implication. I was suddenly like, hang on a minute.
What?
Gulliver wasn't massive, was he? Wasn't it that the Lilliputians were tiny?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Gulliver was a normal person, as far as I'm...
So he could fit in any kind of JDM van to his heart's content.
Absolutely. In fact, Gulliver could have been a really small guy. He could have been like a 5'2" tall guy.
That's why he kept going to Lilliput, because it made him feel tall.
Gulliver, what they don't tell you is just Gulliver's got this shared obsession that I have with model villages, and he just used to hang around model villages. And then someone came along and waved a magic wand, and then the model village came to life.
Wait, would you honestly want to go to a model village, though, if it was populated by actual live people?
No, I'd be terrified of stepping on somebody. I'd like to see a car chase and sort of like a police apprehending a small crim. I would quite like that. Where's this conversation going?
A really exquisitely detailed scale version of a no-name full suspension mountain bike which has been caught palming weed to a teenager by the canal.
Oh, he'd be doing a 12th gear wheelie, wouldn't he?
Yeah. When a load of pills fall out of his pocket.
They would.
Pinched by a scale policeman.
He'd get an instant blowout because he's been nursing the back tyre forever.
I just typed in one of those magnificently fuckwitty questions that people ask on Google. How tall was Gulliver? And it comes back, the first result is Gulliver is described as being less than 6 feet tall.
There we go.
In the book.
There we go, look. Not even a tall guy.
No. So anyway, I just wanted to apologise to the Gulliver enthusiasts listening, because I
love the fact we have to address any wrongs, inaccuracies to a completely fictitious story involving...
Sirs, we represent the estate of Jonathan Swift, and we insist that you cease and desist from referring to Gulliver as quote-unquote massive, or suggesting that he had a Toyota Alphard of any sort.
Gulliver's Alphard. The problem is the more mentions of JDM people carriers that are mentioned, it makes me want them more and more. The attraction is increasing.
Oh, I know.
For me.
I know. Well, so let's start by establishing you have not yet bought a car.
I haven't. My life's a bit complicated at the moment. But so there's a lot going on, but I do need a kind of runabout car for children and things, mostly occasional use. It's sort of like, a small village ambulance, I would say. But it needs to work really well when it's needed, but it probably might sit a bit.
You want a parachute car?
Yes, I do. An old
dependable
faithful.
When needed.
I need a St Bernard dog, but as a car, if that's okay.
No, you need to use a St Bernard every day, otherwise it'll get really fat.
A St Bernard.
That's not such a good.
Do you know what? There'll be a very new production Chinese car that comes out soon, and it'll be called something like the Great Wall St Bernard. And
Saint Bernard.
It's Saint Bernard, exactly that. Yeah.
Or it'll be called the SB8, and people go, what does the SB stand for? And they'll say, well, St Bernard, actually.
St Bernard.
We want it to be friendly and faithful and quite heavy. Hey, now,
heavy.
Just to veer into cars and a bit of car news of sorts.
Don't do it, Richard. Stop being a prick.
No, go on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it out of my system.
No.
This is a bit of a scoop. I've got some industry gossip.
Yeah.
I was out and about the other day in the MG4 that I've borrowed. I was on the Fosse Way, famously straight road across England. So I was in Warwickshire at a junction Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That absolute ring piece with his leaf blower.
Oh, no, not again.
He knows. I swear to God, he watches me go into the shed with the microphone.
We're not recording at the same time either.
I know.
Today.
This is what I mean. It doesn't matter what time you record, that tick gets started. Go, I'll just go move some leaves around my garden. That's sake.
You need to force him to have a sauna. Then get him out the sauna completely naked, and then find a really low-cost kind of middle aisle Aldi electric strimmer. And just and flail his really hot from the sauna bag with a weak strimmer until he says, "I'm never going to use a leaf blower again." The reason being because you don't have a vacuum cleaner that blows dust around your house, because it's a fucking stupid idea, isn't it? In the same way that if you were collecting leaves, you collect them. You don't blow them somewhere else, because that's stupid. That's like herding up an oil slick and pushing it onto the other country and going, "It's fine, it won't come back." It will come back. It's not it doesn't solve anything. That's what annoys me. It doesn't solve a damn thing.
I noticed you haven't got any loo roll in your downstairs loo, John. Why is that? Oh, we don't use it anymore. I've just got an air compressor in there. You just blow piss and shit off yourself. It's fine. Doesn't it blow it into the other parts of the room?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I've got an extractor fan for my oven. When I'm making a really strong curry, the extractor fan pipes it straight through into the lounge next door. But it's perfect, because it means there's no smell of curry in the kitchen. It's ideal. It's absolutely ideal. It really solves the issue for me.
We've had all the drains removed from our house. You know, when you take a shower, it just pipes it down. Just absolutely pours it into the dining room. It's fine. Just out of sight, out of mind, isn't it?
That's right, but the wet room
We're
is
a
not
moving
wet.
things around household. We're not a putting things away.
No.
Anyway, so I was in Warwickshire and I was at a junction in an MG4 and I just waiting to turn, and this car sort of came round a bend towards me. And you know when you see a car that's so completely unfamiliar that your brain sort of jams slightly? I was like, what the... And I could see immediately, it was on a 22 plate. I was like, shit, it's something so new. I'd forgotten about it. And then the penny dropped. It was one of those Neo ES8s. You seen those?
Yes. They're
Chinese SUV.
I've never seen one in the UK.
Well, they're not sold in the UK.
No. I know they are in Europe.
They are sold. I checked this later.
Yeah, the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands.
I think so. In Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's an EV. It's pure electric.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely sold in Norway because they're big fans of EVs there. But it's not sold in the UK. Not as far as I can work out. Made in right-hand drive at the moment. This one was left-hand drive, but on British plates.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the...
Did you chase it?
Almost 100%. Well, I did. I was suddenly like, I wanted to have a look at it. So I started following it.
Yeah.
And
I knew you would.
It's not bad looking in a sort of generic kind of way. But then I was suddenly like, wait a second. We're not far from Jaguar Land Rover headquarters at Gaydon.
Off of Gaydon,
Warwickshire. I wonder if this is something to do with them. What if this is them doing a bit of cheeky benchmarking against an upcoming Chinese rival? So I'm definitely following it now. So I just kept following it, and sure enough, and do you know what? There's a bit of a clue as well. I've been out with car engineers on ride and drive stories before, and one thing about car engineers, like car journalists in my experience, is they are scrupulous about village speed limits.
Yes.
If it says 30, you do 30 on the nose.
Yeah.
No cheeky 35s.
No.
Be a good person.
No.
Behave yourself.
You're describing me there.
Yeah, well, I do as well. I think it's if you're going through a village, don't be a ring piece. So
no.
We just sure enough we got to main road near Jaguar Land Rover headquarters, and I was like, well, here's the division bell, because I'm pretty sure if they go left here, they're heading back to the mothership.
That car's going to be stripped down in a matter of hours.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Was
it? Taking it for a little run around the block, because that poor car is getting dismantled tomorrow. I'm sure of it. Because what I also looked up when I got home, I was like, what else do I need to know about this ES8? And it's got swappable batteries.
Ah, fantastic.
Which I would imagine that other car companies would be intrigued to know how they've done that. So... yeah, and it was I was just driving very sedately. There were two blokes in it. I couldn't see in the back because it got tints. Maybe there were more, but there were two blokes in it. I could see, there's a dual carriageway bit, and pulled up some lights, and I could see that the passenger was sort of knobbing about with the central screen, so they were obviously just finding their way around it. But yeah, I had the same thought as you. I was like, that car's getting taken to pieces.
They're doing some last-minute telemetry with it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to dismantle it. It will never live again.
Well, I imagine there's probably procedures, isn't there? It's not so ad hoc. They just go, I'll tell you what, Stu, you go and drive it around for a bit, and then when you get back, I'll get the socket set out and we'll get that bastard to pieces. I think it's all quite sort of process-driven.
I think
so. They probably will put, some miles on it and do a thorough benchmarking and, attributes and get people to rate it, and then it'll be dismantled.
They'll do 100 rapid charges in it or something.
Anyway, I just thought that was quite interesting.
No, it's
quite
great.
Often around that part of the world, you see, you see sort of camoed up stuff, and oh no, it's not true. I saw the new Range Rover Bolt. I saw one of those that was still all swirly wrapped, but that's not a secret car.
It's not a secret car. It's nice to say Spout again, though, isn't it?
Anyway, there we go. A little bit of not that interesting industry gossip for you. Jaguar Land Rover benchmarking Chinese EVs.
Well, I mean, it's more interesting than how I was going to start this podcast by apologising for wearing barn find trousers, and the reason for that is precisely why I've been such in a muddle today, and I've made you late for everything. And I drove to the office without my phone because I've been in the middle of clearing garage and shed, and it's just all carnage and hoarded filth. And the problem with my barn find trousers is that my left-hand pocket, jean pocket, which is where I normally keep my phone, it's got a hole completely through it. So I've lost count of the times I've put my phone in my pocket and it's dropped to my ankle, and then I have to fetch it out of my ankle, which just looks a bit creepy. So the last few days I've been moving stuff and heavy lifting, so I'm, steel toe caps, barn find trousers, and I've got into the habit of doing what I think a lot of women do because they don't have pockets that are big enough for a phone, is they put phones down on a surface or sometimes in the back pocket, which I'm nervous about because I get in and out of a van and I'll sit on my own phone, and I'm I'm a bit protective over my condition of my phone. I'm a good guy to buy a phone off secondhand. Let's just put it like that.
Okay, that's worth knowing. Duly noted.
Yeah, I do a bit of phone worship. I use it hard, but it's my phone's like a police car. It gets used very hard, but maintained meticulously.
Yeah. As long as it's not a BMW phone and it's then going to burst into flames.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. It's not a BMW ex police phone. But no. So the problem was I got in the car to go to record this cast for you, and I left my phone in the house, and then did that thing of again got stuck in traffic. I was driving an electric Vivaro van, Vauxhall Vivaro, which is I've really enjoyed it. It's been very precious for me over the last couple of days. I've shifted an awful lot of car parts that I possibly don't need. But anyway, I've shifted them anyway because I had to. And, I had that horrible realisation of I can't phone you to tell you I'm running late now because I've left my phone at home. And it's just all very annoying. But what was quite cool is there were some temporary traffic lights which were holding me up and making me gnash my teeth. But the lights go to green and then they weave through the guys doing the roadworks. Yeah. I got stuck in the middle of between the lights where they were doing roadworks by a guy who'd gone through the roadworks on the road in a mobility scooter and was so slow that the lights had done 2 full cycles between the time he got to the other end, and it was just weird. But yet there's a public footpath right next to all of this road. It makes no sense. And he was just oblivious, wearing a captain's hat, like a skipper's hat.
Yes. That's a look.
I've noticed several guys, older chaps mostly, on mobility scooters, and they do like a skipper/captain hat. I don't know if it's a prerequisite of a mobility scooter. I doubt it is, but this one, I'd spent a long time behind it because, like I said, it was bloody slow. I noticed it had a rear light panel. I don't know why I noticed because I was bored out of my head. But the rear light panel on it, obviously very small and low down on those. I think someone has directly copied the C8 Corvette.
Oh.
And I now need to search through probably countless models of mobility scooter to see about the one that this was. But it honestly looked a little bit like a rubbish C8 that had been narrowed. And this one didn't have a wheelie bar. I've always noticed the mobility scooters often have a wheelie bar, which again I like because it looks purposeful and pro street. But I'm not sure whether I think it's to stop them from tilting back when you go up a curb.
I would assume so. But yeah, you're right. It does look like they're going to sort of head down to Santa Pod to lay a couple of 11s.
It does. I love the idea of that.
Nice thought.
And just, some really sort of tacky cut slicks going on at the back there, just so you get massive purchase on any paved surface. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this conversation, but all I know is that, it was just really faffy this morning. Listeners must have these, where everything goes wrong in a morning, and it gets to about 12 midday, and you think, would it be easier if I just did a sort of hard reset? Go back into bed, set my alarm for an hour, get up, put the kettle on, have another shower, don't know, change my clothes, and let's just see if we can do this better.
Or maybe just, quickly look at the news and go, as if you hadn't heard it before.
Well, that's true. You wake up in the news and there'd be a different British Prime Minister, probably another shit one. But anyway, that's
a little bit of satire there, ladies and gentlemen.
You made me laugh because I noticed that you, like me, every time someone refers to King Charles, our new king, I constantly just think of the idiotic long-eared dog.
Yes, that's the thing. It's made more. It was that headline that I put on Twitter the other day. It was something like Rishi Sunak is declared Prime Minister after meeting King Charles. And I immediately just imagine a slightly sort of boggle-eyed, frantic dog.
It was. The eyes are pontoon eyes, as my brother calls them, isn't it? Like one stick, one twist. It's like Homer Simpson. They both look slightly outward. Headlights that don't quite work properly on a high mileage car. You can't decide which one to go for. And someone cleverly, it was a chap called Andrew Rabbit on Twitter. When you said about King Charles, he put King Charles or King Charles with an apostrophe before the K, lowercase k.
Oh.
And I thought that's actually really good. Fucking Charles.
King Charles. Yeah.
He's really angry about the fact he's got to go and see the fucking king.
King Charles. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Anyway, so I'm now thinking of it also in relation to King Juan Carlos of Spain. I don't know where I'm going with that at all.
We're idiots. We're idiots.
Hey, now, wait, what was I going to say to you about, what were we just talking about before that? Mobility scooters.
Yeah.
I reckon we say often our listeners know everything. Someone will know what mobility scooter model that is.
They will.
Our listeners know everything. On that note, last week you were talking about the Myra Spolt shower.
Yes.
Message from a listener, Tom Keir. Hello, Tom.
Does he work for a shower manufacturer?
Oh, it's better than that.
Oh.
Hi, Johnny and Richard, he says. I'm a plumbing lecturer at a college in Wiltshire, and I wanted to let you know the Myra Sport range is called Sport because, like an EV, it has a bigger kilowatt rating and you get better performance from them, like a higher flow rate, litres per minute, than other showers in the range.
Oh, but why? That's not a Sport, though, is it? I mean,
it's high performance, isn't it? It does sort of make sense. Yeah.
But are we not? I mean, this is great info, and thank you for sharing that info. I like it. But what I don't understand is we are confusing the word performance with sport. They're not the same.
It's true.
I can
see why they went there. I mean, I suppose if they called it like, the Myra R range
excellence.
Or something like that. Excellence.
What about excellence? Nothing wrong with the word excellence.
Tom's also asked if he can get a shout out to Chris Homer, another plumbing lecturer at another campus who also listens to the podcast every week on that side of things.
What, we're doing plumbing lecturing shout-outs?
Yeah, we're doing plumbing. We don't normally do shout-outs, but if you're a plumbing lecturer for this week only, we're making an exception.
Well, I got in the shower at the B&B that I was at last week very early. Had to do a very early start, and I even made the effort of taking a photo of it and sending it to you. But a blurry one, admittedly. It was a low light, like a 10-watt bulb in the bathroom. But also, it was the fact that as I was showering, I know some people sing and I talk to myself, I think, sometimes. But I just stared at the box which said Myra Sport and just with water just cascading off my face, just going, Sport, Sport. spout out. And then I realised afterwards, if the person who was asleep next to me got woken up at about 5 by someone showering, just going, spout, spout out, spouts, spouts. It just sounds like someone pretending to be a dog. It's just ridiculous. It's as if Scooby-Doo tried to say sport 20 different ways. Yeah. Because Scooby-Doo, although it's a great show, he was a bit of a twat, wasn't he? He was just a bit too thick, intolerably thick.
Yeah, intolerably thick is a good way. Just go, come on, back up your ideas.
Yeah, come on, we've had years of this. We've had years of it. You're competing now with Thomas and Percy tank engines for being an absolute, prime veiny wand. Come on, what are you doing?
There are some blithering knob slits on the Thomas Island. What's it called? Sodor.
Sodor, which I used to think was Sodor.
In the Thomas the Tank Engine extended universe.
Sodor what? Sodor what? What's the alternative to sod?
Thomas the Tank Engine on Sodor.
Yeah, I used to honestly think it was Sodor. And then someone went, no, it's Sodor. It's like, oh, yeah, of course it is. But what would it be if it wasn't sod? Oh, so, if you're listening to this podcast, please turn it off. It's complete rubbish.
Yeah, just get
Walk
out while
away.
the going's good. What else was I going to talk to you about? Oh, well, I was going to. I've pulled out a few listeners' messages. Lots of people.
His complaints.
No, funnily enough, not. Oh, I want to read out this one from a listener called Gabriella Bedford, who says, "This is." I apologise. It's our usual highly efficient message processing system. This message was sent a month ago or so. Gabriella says, in your most recent episode you asked for messages from female listeners. Here is one.
Oh, brilliant.
I've been listening for about a year and absolutely love the podcast. I think I'm probably the nichest Smith & Sniff listener, as I doubt you get many 15-year-old girls listening to your podcast. She says, my dad, probably your typical listener, can't stand cars and therefore the podcast. Sorry.
What?
So I'm the only listener in the house. So there we go. That is probably the one end of the Smith & Sniff demographic that we didn't even know existed, is Gabriella. She also says, I saw a Mitsubishi jet towel in the ladies' toilets in a department store in Grantham and was tempted to take a picture for you, but it was full of posh people who'd probably take a dim view of it. Now, on this
Mitsubishi jet towel rears its head again.
I know.
Gosh, honestly, if we earned £1 every time the jet towel was mentioned,
I know.
I could have bought a deceased spec Previa by now. More of that later.
Well, I'll come on to that in a sec. But I now see now. Oh God, I've gone and lost this one. We did have a picture of a jet towel, but from, here we go, Sarah Green, not off the telly, I presume.
Yeah.
Sarah says, because we said we just seem to get pictures of jet towels in men's loos, but they must be in women's loos too. Sarah says, no doubt you've now been inundated by female listeners sending in photographs of Mitsubishi jet towels. Well, no, we haven't.
No, not.
Sarah.
I wouldn't say inundated. No.
We've got Gabriella telling us there is one in a department store in Grantham, but photographic evidence, no. So Sarah sent us, she says, please accept this submission from M&S in York. My 6-year-old daughter was slightly bemused when I told her mummy was going to do something a bit odd and take a photo of the hand drive.
I love this.
A special moment to remember from our half-term trip to York. Kind regards, Otsot, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
That is, I think, our first and only so far jet towel picture from a female listener, but
that's brilliant.
Another message that I pulled out, which again is from ages ago, and I apologise for the delay in processing it, but one of our patrons called Ellie Burgess, she says, please can I have your advice on a replacement car for my F56 Mini JCW? I was thinking I would go electric, but now that I'm commuting much less, I've started thinking that something classic might be more fun. I'm thinking pre-1981, so it's tax exempt to offset fuel costs and all that. I need to have rear seats to fit my black Labrador and obviously be enjoyable to drive on that side of things. Budget around 15k.
Oh, Ellie.
And I looked at this and I went, oh my God, the world's your oyster.
Yeah, 15's a good chunk there.
And I honestly don't know where to start. It's because...
Did she give any preference? Because she's had a John Cooper work, so she likes a frisky fizzy hatch.
Exactly. And that's sort of... I worry that a lot of classic cars might feel a bit toss.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell of an engaging car, isn't it? JCW and all that.
They really are. But, at the same time, there's something very cool about a classic. But I don't know if you kind of just go the other end and get something very sort of boaty and like an old Merc.
Yeah,
a 70s Merc.
Something wafty.
Wafty, exactly.
And with that's all about the ride quality rather than the cornering. Yeah. You could, I mean, the greedy absolute slut in me would say, just buy 2 cars, Ellie. If you've got 15 to play with, why don't you get one tax exempt one that's sort of kind of more occasional use. Let's say weekends, 2 days a week. And then the other one, you could get that's maybe a bit more akin to your Super Mini. Super Mini.
I just started looking for S-classes.
Oh, don't.
On Car and Classic. But this doesn't work because it's 88, so it's not tax exempt. But there's a W126 S-class. It's only a 300, but it's lovely, smooth.
Yeah, you could get an early W126 S-class that's tax exempt, couldn't you now? God, what a thing. They're lovely.
What a thing.
And they're quite easy to work on.
I'm not.
Yeah, well, certainly the more basic engine ones. Yeah.
I suppose you've got a bit of space.
You've got a bit of space, but also a lower spec car came with less options, and less options is less complexity. And you forget how bare you could order those, because from memory, a cassette deck was an option. Or it might have even been a radio was an option, which is absurd given that it was an S-Class Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean, do I want a radio? Of course I flipping do. Get out, I'm paying 50,000 sheets for this, or whatever it is. It won't be a lot less than that, but it does seem like Mercedes were like, would you like 4 wheels or would you like 3? Well, I'd actually like 4, what with it being designed as a 4-wheeled car and all that.
Well, that's another £590 then.
Yes.
In fact, funny enough, they did used to come on wheel trims,
I was just about to say, they came on hubcaps, and I did a car cave of a guy that is a bonkers obsessive Merc collector, and he has an early bare bones S-Class 126 with hubcaps, and it was a one-owner car that had done hardly anything. And I looked around it, and I'm more amazed by how Spartan it was than a fully spec'd 560 SEL, because that's the kind of ones that you see these days at classic car shows. You don't see the kind of more, like, say, POV spec, as we used to say. And I kind of like it. So going back to Ellie's question, blimmin' heck, it is a bit the world is your oyster. I mean, look, guys, here's where I'm at. Listen, I would be really inclined to see if I could get, for around 11 or 12, if you're careful, a BMW i3. Okay, because they handle really well, and they've got that lightness about them, and that chuckableness, and they're narrow for commuting, but also enjoyment, and there's enough room for a dog, I'm sure. Several dogs. Yeah. And then 2, as a weekend thing, that would leave you with about, let's say, $3,000, which is not a huge amount of money, but enough money. You could buy something at the opposite end of the i3, which could be a Luxo barge. Let's say you and I, we are particularly keen on something like a Jaguar XJ. Could you get an aluminium-bodied XJ for that? A V8 Spolts? Or you might get that for 3 bags, wouldn't you?
I don't know, but why don't we, in real time?
Are you going to deep dive into CNC again?
I'm going Auto Trader for this one, because I feel like they're still within that sort of realm. But because, oh gosh, we see now I've got to do some sorting.
Well, while you're searching, I just want to say to all the listeners, A, thank you for suggesting lots of different cars that I ought to buy in the near future as my kind of child chariot, El Cheapo type estate. I've been inundated, and I'm a bit overwhelmed by it, because there's too many good ones. There is an amazing one-owner Prev.
This just in. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
just live from the scene of live feed from Auto Trader. Yeah, you can get into an alley-bodied XJ for 3.
Oh,
I mean, I couldn't vouch for it.
Munger
but there's
of
one here.
Autogrot.
4.2 V8 for 3 on the nose.
Can you really? Okay, so
Yeah.
we've just purchased for Ellie, figuratively speaking, two quite interesting bookends for her.
Well, yeah, I mean those Jags are going to be, depending on what year they are, but they're going to be pretty punchy on the road tax.
Well, that's why you go
Same
6
thing.
months. 6 months of the year. What?
You're really anyway.
Well,
Oh,
just
good.
do a 6er, then saw on the rest.
I mean, I think that you're sort of a modern EV and a classic for the weekends might be a way to go, but contingent on a few things, like if
Yeah.
you've got the places to put them and all that.
Yes, and if Ellie's like if Ellie's
classic.
20 years old, then obviously the insurance for the pair is going to be a bit heady. But we don't know all the details. We don't know all
I
the
don't know,
details.
but coming out of a John Cooper Works Mini, I'd imagine you're insurable to some degree.
yes.
because I bet those are a bit punchy on the
I
insurance.
bet they are.
But they're a bit tricky to insure if you've got a.
To be fair, mate, God, I've heard so much of that recently. Adding "to be fair" at the end.
To be fair,
Oh, for goodness sake! Seriously,
Yeah.
To be fair. Well, how many times per day are you unfair? Let's just reverse this. To be completely irrational.
Well,
is-
according to my children, I'm extremely unfair on a regular basis. E.g., no, you can't watch your iPad while you're having dinner.
Yeah, no, you can't. You
sorry.
can't have 12 Mauam sweets just before bed.
Yeah.
No, no, you can't. No, you can't brush your teeth with cola. No, that's not right. Yeah. Hey, Daddy, I see you've just cleaned the car. I've just opened a bag of fully crushed crisps. Is it okay if I eat these? No, not really, because I've just spent 2 hours vacuuming the really deep pearl carpet.
I knew there was something else I wanted to tell you, but I knew that would also instantly enrage you, as it's enraged me.
Oh, shit, no.
Is I had to take the child seats out of the back of our E-Up.
Was it a complete
And-
Brian Canterbury?
Holy mother of Christmas.
Was it?
And that car's not that old, and that's what's so annoying about it. It's just like, but then I took the child seats out because I needed to put them in another car. But I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, right, I'm going to go and get the Hoover. I've got to go and get the Hoover. And but my wife had to go to work, so the car is now gone.
Oh, no.
And
Is it just crushed crisps?
just crushed
Peanuts
crisps,
or whatever?
crumbs. There was something dried that I don't even know what it
Oh
was.
no, it'll be a slice of apple that's turned into an Egyptian mummy or
Yes,
something, won't it?
There was definitely a bit of stuff that was on its way to being a diamond. It was I was just outraged at how manky it was back there. I don't know why. I think it's because it's got cloth seats, and somehow maybe they just sort of. It looks worse on the cloth than it does on.
Well, it's hard. It's harder to
car.
it's harder to draw it out, though, isn't it? You
Yeah.
you have to coax it out. Whereas a nice shiny leather is, when I say nice, I don't really like shiny leather, but it's easier to get rid of offensive foodstuffs. And I've got to do that. But you sometimes find some really terrible things down by the Isofix holes.
Oh God.
You know the Isofix tunnels. Some cars, I think VW
Yes.
Group, VAG Group cars have got
Yeah.
actual tunnels, haven't they?
Yeah,
And down those
yeah.
tunnels, I found a Hot Wheels toy down there once. I couldn't get the seat to clip in, and I was starting to have a proper, like rage was flaring. So I had to just put it down and walk off a bit, go around the garden, and then come back to it. And this was early days of parenthood, when you're a bit sleep deprived and things are a bit touchy anyway. And I came back to it and was like, well, why is this not clipping in? This is ridiculous. It's obviously a factory fault or something. Rah, rah, rah. I got my phone torch out and looked down there. Yeah, it's a flipping, Chevelle down there.
Well, at least it was something that you could enjoy looking at.
I
as
did. Do you know what?
sliced it out of
The simpleton in me went, oh, look at that. Oh, that's nice. Sort of like electric blue with a pair of stripes down the bonnet. Yeah, that does look good. Why, nice choice. Anyway, right, quick, get the kids in the car. What am I doing? Don't play with toys. Although I do like Hot Wheels toys, as you may know.
Yeah,
But.
yeah. I do. Who doesn't?
Well, I do, yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
doesn't?
Write in if you don't like Hot Wheels toys. You have a flipping good reason why.
And we will find you and we will smote you a mighty blow.
Yes.
Come and ask us about being unfair after that. I was going to read out. Well, so we had a lot of messages, people recommending cars for you. including a message from Jason Core. Hello, Jason, who says that, he sent us a link to a car that I've already seen because it's a Berlingo. Really nice, sort of original but facelift Berlingo, 2007.
Which is a car I have been considering.
Yeah, 1.6 petrol.
A utilitarian favourite. Yes, a 1.6 petrol was the one I was raising a brow to. Yes.
Yeah, and this one has got, by the looks of it, I think it's got the glass roof.
Oh.
So it's a nice spec.
That's proper sort of like sort of a fairly lonely but well turned out fisherman car.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like does all night fishing on his own.
Yeah.
But wants something that can go down the rutty back lanes to get to the right river/canal entrance.
And you're not going to bulk about putting a slightly damp rod in them. They bag them up, though, don't they? So I don't think that's a problem.
You bag your damp rod up, Richard. You bag
up. This Berlingo, the reason I've seen this is because I think it's been around for a while. It's on for 2,495, which is sort of not terrible money, but probably it's a bit top end. I don't know.
It's a bit top end for me at the moment. Not being
tidy car, but the ad, you'd like it because it starts with due to a bereavement.
Oh well, we're in there already, aren't we?
So it is deceased spec.
It is deceased spec.
But what caught my eye about this advert, and I mentioned this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, because it says, to avoid embarrassing anybody, the asking figure is fixed as subject to probate rules. And I was thinking, I don't think there are any probate rules. That's just nonsense. It's not, because houses are subject to probate. And nobody goes, no, you can't make any offers on this house. It would be illegal. Probate rules. You go, sod off then. I put this on Twitter and I said, if anyone's a lawyer, could you confirm there are no probate rules?
Oh yeah, I bet we've got some.
Nonsense.
I bet there's some Smith and Sniff listeners who are lawyers. There's bound to be.
Well, I've had it confirmed, including someone I know who's a lawyer who went, "Nah, it's just horse arse that." And what probably has happened is that they've already, for inheritance tax reasons, they've sort of declared the value of the estate and included the Berlingo in it at 2,495. And now they're just trying to pull a fast one. Well, the car seems to have been on sale for ages, so it's clearly not worked, has it? You just need to accept that perhaps you might get a little bit less, but that's how buying and selling cars works. Anyway,
how bad do you want to sell it, mate? 50 quid or you know what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've driven 19 miles to look at this. I've turned up.
Shit off.
Yeah, 50 quid. I see it's got a bar on it. I'll give you 60 quid if it's got the bar. All right, if it's hooked up. But I've driven 20 miles, mate. I'm tired. I like all the excuse that buyers give you that isn't your fault or your problem.
Oh, what?
Listen, mate. I've had a long day at work. I've just driven to come and see you. I've used fuel to come and see you. I ran over a cat on the way here. I'm looking at your car. I see there's a scratch on it, which I kind of already knew about. Okay, where's this going? Can I just ask, where is this going?
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I've driven 490 miles to get here, mate. And the thing is, right, my dad's got diabetes. So can I offer you about 30% of the asking price? What?
Yeah.
Why are these things related?
Right.
I sent you that Previa, didn't I, the other night?
Oh.
And it was inspired by, I couldn't believe we'd forgotten about the Prev.
I feel ashamed.
A message from Aaron Svedberg in Sweden.
Well, Aaron's thrown the Prev amongst the pigeons here because here's me looking at quite a lot of Volvo V70s and XC70s, which I am partial to, even though I know the auto box is made of Lindt chocolate. And then this Prev, and it is a one-owner Dr. Prev, which did give me little sort of visions of Harold Shipman, even though it's not quite the same car, but hey. And I thought, it looks so 90s. That's the first thing I thought. Yeah. And it has conference seating. Did you see inside it?
Yeah. It's
and I was like...
It's the only Mark 1 Prev that I could find on any channel. There's nothing on eBay or Gumtree.
Oh, really? It's only one?
Loads of Mark 2s and then later JDM stuff. But yeah, Aaron said that he thought the S-Type wasn't a bad option, but he says the parts hauling school run JDM MPV car it couldn't be more clear. The Toyota Previa, more precisely the 1990 to 99 model that had the inline 4 mounted flat on its side in the middle and rear-wheel drive. Greetings from Sweden.
Of course it was. Thank you from Sweden as well.
Yeah,
that's
technically interesting and almost unbreakable by popular repute.
It's true, actually, and I am
egg-shaped Previa.
It is. It does,
and it was in budget, that one, wasn't it? It was 1,500 quid.
That's 1,495 quid, and it's a one doctor owner from new full service history car.
I always find that one doctor owner thing sort of. I know what they're trying to get at.
What are they trying to get at?
Well, an educated professional person owned this car. Of course it's going to be perfect because, well, they spent 7 or 8 years at university. And it's like, doctors can be fuckwits too.
I was going to say.
You could be a doctor and have absolutely dreadful clutch control. I mean, it doesn't, just because you know how the lymphatic system works doesn't mean that you're very good at parking.
You can be a doctor
scrape the back bumper off 9 times.
And leave a hot cup of coffee on the roof of your car every morning and drive off with it because you're so busy and stressed.
One of my best mates is a doctor and he's a very, very clever bloke. He went to Cambridge to do doctoring, which, shows how bright he is. But when we both lived at home, when we were late teenagers, he once rang me up on a Sunday night. We used to go for a pint quite often on a Sunday night. And he rang me up and he went, "We go for a beer?" I went, yeah, definitely. He's like, "Who's going to drive?" He went, "Oh, it's all right, I'll drive." I just, "Oh, shit!" And he had driven to cricket practice in town. And then he'd come out of that, forgotten he'd driven there and walked home. So that's, cars and doctors, they're not necessarily beautiful bedfellows that will lead to fine used car buys.
I think sometimes you can be an exceptional scholar or an intellectual, but the basic common sense is not there. I think they don't walk hand in hand, do they? Which is why my brother says sometimes, he says, I know people that are so intelligent they forget to brush their teeth in the morning. And that it is one of those things where you do go, it's true, isn't it?
Professor, you stink. Get some polos or something.
It's exactly it. Professor, this new aftershave that you've got, yes, it's sulphur. Oh, I thought it was. Okay, I'm just checking.
Sorry, I was just thinking about Schrodinger's cat, actually, and unfortunately accidentally rubbed some Tabasco sauce on my neck. So what else have we got here in the message? I mean, there's so many. Oh, hey, I want to read this one out.
Yeah.
Matt Carter. This is not someone suggesting a car for you.
Oh, okay. No one's peddling a vehicle.
It is something else from last week's podcast. Matt's email is entitled Peugeot 1007 Use Cases.
Oh, yes. Drive-by shootings.
Hi, guys. Yes, well, in a way,
Come on.
yes. He says, a follow-up to Richard's criticism of the 1007 in this week's podcast. I have all of 2 selling points for them. 1, my nan had one for many years as an upgrade to her Mitsubishi Space Star.
Oh.
The sliding doors made it a lot easier for her and my granddad to get in and out of the car, particularly in tighter parking spaces.
Space Star. I've been offered one of those as one of the cars. How bizarre. Sorry, carry on.
2, Matt says, you can drive them with the doors fully open. I collect auction cars on a car transporter for a living. And whenever I have one to load, I always tear about the yard and up the decks of my truck with both doors fully extended.
It's not illegal because they're not protruding.
No, I suppose not. He says you just have to be careful with sharp turns as you're at risk of being flung out of the side. Oh, that is great fun. So there we go. That's 2 solid reasons for those silly doors on the 1007. Thank you, Matt.
If you were driving, I think there was I remember an older Top Gear article about drive-by shooting with Jeremy.
Really?
Didn't Jeremy? Didn't he fire a gun out of a car whilst driving? They were doing some sort of challenge.
Yeah, with a Mercedes SLS with the gold.
That's right, the gold. So you could do a much lower end version of that with a 1007. But you see, the good thing is you could fire off as the passenger or the driver across the other seat, and as long as you told the other person in the car to sit back and stay still, you could fire straight across them.
That wouldn't be terrifying at all.
No, it wouldn't. But if it was some sort of like John Woo film off of 1994, the person in the passenger seat could have a pistol or even an automatic weapon in each hand and do the double-handed, 180-degree shooting all of the oncomers whilst you carry on driving oblivious. Well, not oblivious is not the right word. You'd know that there was a shooting because it'd be right next to your face. But
I think it'd be quite noisy.
it'd be quite. But the point is you could just and then shut the doors, and it's almost a kind of Breaking Bad, Walter White kind of goes under the radar stealth car. You park it in a disabled space illegally, and then suddenly walk off. Job done. Drive-by shooting complete.
No good. I wouldn't have a bulletproof 1007 because as you jumped slow motion John Woo style into it, the adversary would have time to riddle you. You'd be peppered with lead by the time the doors had closed, bulletproof or not.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it? You'd have to leave the doors open permanently. You just bolt them
sort
open.
Of undermines the bulletproofness. Also, you couldn't do that thing that American police people in movies do, where they open the doors of their cop cars and fire from behind them.
Oh no, you couldn't. You can't use it as a door shield.
No, because some Crown Vics did have a rudimentary bulletproof.
I think they do have ballistic skins. Yeah, and they're a great.
Two more from that.
I was just about. You beat me to it, you swine. I was just about to say that. Ballistic door skins.
Ballistic skins. Now, hey. Oh, actually, talking of super slow mo filmmaking techniques. I went to see the new film by Rock the Dwayne Johnson last week, Black Adam.
Okay.
This is a DC Comics universe film. I'm not particularly into those sort of action superhero-y type films, but there was nothing else on.
Were you that bored, or were you having a date night?
We were having a date day. The reason I bring this up is because I don't know if anyone else... I raised this on Twitter the other day after I'd seen the film, but it's still bothering me. I don't know if any listeners have seen Black Adam yet, but the cars in it are really bothering me.
Oh.
It's set in a mythical world. Well, it's on Earth. I think it's on Earth. People who are Marvel fans will be shouting now because I'm not paying attention to this at all, but I guess it's on Earth, but it's an ancient city. And it sort of seems to be in the Middle East or maybe North Africa. And it has a look. The city street scenes kind of have a look to them. We go, okay, yeah, that looks like it might be in Jerusalem or somewhere.
Yeah.
It's sort of, sort of kind of sandy coloured buildings.
Sweet, lovely buildings.
Sweet
Middle Eastern
buildings.
scenes.
Yeah, and then you see some W123 Mercs, and you go, okay, yeah, I could buy that. That sort of fits in that look, and some old Peugeots, and you go, okay, oh wait, no, old Peugeot, maybe it is
Moroccan.
I wonder where they shot this. I wonder if or do they shoot it? I bet it's one of those films where they shot it in Morocco or something, and just dressed it to look a bit different. But then there's an old Skoda, like a 70s Skoda.
A what, rear engine job?
Yeah, with the round headlights.
Like R110
and
or something.
And then there's one of those Zaprazets. Is that how you pronounce it? Those old Soviet...
Zaprazet. I think it is
Zaprazet. At that point, I was totally thrown off, and I was like, all right, okay, no, I think I get this now. It was shot in Prague. They shoot a lot of films in Prague, don't they, for tax reasons?
I think it's tax, yeah.
So they imported some sort of North African / Middle Eastern looking kind of old Peugeots and Mercs to dress it up a bit, but then they've had to use some old local stuff as well. When I got home, I looked it up where it was filmed, and it was all filmed in the US.
In America? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it was shot in Georgia, the US state, again for tax reasons, I presume. Now, I struggle to think they'd imported old Skodas, and I think there was some old, the Zhugli-shaped larders. So I started thinking maybe it's all CGI.
Yeah. Maybe
they're CGI cars, but I was saying this to my wife, and she just went, "Oh yeah, they just wanted cars that aren't familiar to American audiences to make it look abroad." I was like, "Don't come here with your simple logic. I want to know more, and I can't find out more. There's nothing online. It's really bothering me." So, if you were one of the CG coordinators for Black Adam, could you get in touch, please, and tell me how the cars came about? Because I think I'm sure they must be CG because it's all so good now you can barely tell.
Is it a good film?
It's all right. I quite enjoyed it.
No?
The Rock carries it because he's just good at being The Rock. And Pierce Brosnan's in it. And he's just one of those people you go, you were built to be a movie star. He just radiates charisma off the screen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Pierce Brosnan could do a flamboyant cam belt change in one of those sort of grotty arches garages, and you'd be transfixed. Don't you think?
That's something to consider for the future, Pierce, if you're a loose end.
And there'd be like a banging noise or something which would make you go, oh, it sounded like he might have made a mistake then. And he'd take his head out from under the bonnet, look at you, cock a bit of an eyebrow, and then go, it's all fine. They all do that, and then go back in under. So you'd be like, fine, okay, I trust him
I
because
thought you were going to say you walk in and he's under the bonnet and you're kind of like, hello, and then nothing, and he just carries on working. You're like, oh no, oh shit, and then finally you're like, hello, sorry, excuse me, I just want to book my car. Could I just? And he just pops his head out, slightly grumpy, just goes, speaks to Karen in the office, and then gets back under the bonnet again, and you just, that's it, it's all you get out of him, and so you're then immediately a little bit intimidated.
That's
but
right.
He's a whiz with cam belt changes. You can do one. It's like you get the call. Your car's ready. What? I only dropped it off 2 hours ago. Yeah, it's done. He's done it. Pierce has done it. He's fine. He's on it.
do you know what? That's what old ex-James Bonds should do. They should set up a syndicate for just doing a sort of a Aston Martin non-official repairs and spares and restos. Do you know what I think? So you'd have one of them would be manning the phones, or you'd have an old Moneypenny manning the phone.
Yes.
And then you'd have you'd have Judi Dench in there because obviously she's dead in Bond terms. Spoiler alert, very old spoiler. Anyway, who cares? And she'd be great at parts procurement, and obviously she'd manage the diary.
Yeah.
So she'd be the one that'd be like, well, no, so Piers, don't book in too many because that cam belt is going to take you 3 hours, 4 hours. And then after that, I'm getting you straight on with the rear valance is absolutely hanging on that V8 Vantage, so that needs chopping out and replacing. And Piers, just imagine
it's
it.
An interesting
It'd be a great
business proposition.
I can imagine it could almost be a little comedy.
Well, Bond actors who've fallen on hard times
Yeah.
having to do
Garage Bond.
an old one of those old Nissan huts.
Oh, it would have to be.
One of those really muddy industrial estates, that's like on the outskirts of a small town.
I hate the muddy ones.
Why are they so muddy?
Well, because there's usually lorries that just tread down the track to the point where any gravel that was there is now deep underground.
And they can't. It's an unnecessary business expense
Yeah.
to all the businesses there to club together and pay for it.
That's right. So you do take your Aston there because fundamentally they know what they're doing. They're cheaper than the rest.
Do they?
No, they do. They do know what they're doing. They're specialised. They know what they're doing and they do a good job. But the problem is every time you drive away from it, the car gets completely covered in shit, and that annoys you because you think, oh. And they make a point of valeting it for you, but the problem is you literally cannot drive it away from the premises without it getting covered in soot.
You literally have to get like 20 men to carry it aloft out of there to keep it clean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
put it
right.
on a lorry.
But what does Piers turns up for work in? He's got a Z3 1.9.
Oh no! What did he got for free?
Yeah, he got it for free, and it's mechanically it's still fine. It's a bit frilly bodily, and it's
a bit frilly.
The hood has shrunk a little, so it's a bit tight around the edges.
Drives it roof down, all weathers.
Oh, he's that guy with a ski jacket
inside
on.
the Nissan hut if it's raining.
Yeah, he's got a goose down jacket on that he just puts on.
Okay, yeah. He's made of tough stuff, is old Pierce. But look, we should start to wrap this up. I just wanted there's one more. This is not very good audio, but a message from a listener called Sam who just said that he suggested this. I can't believe I didn't forward this to you when it came in the other day. A deceased spec Mazda Demio.
No, Demio.
And it looks really good. It's a proper class, a T-Reg 99 Demio. It's 1795, and it's the 1.3 Aegean limited edition.
Did you say Aegean?
Aegean. Oh. And it's got absolutely quintessential late 90s Japanese car upholstery.
Oh, patterns. Interesting patterns.
Not pastel-y, actually. It's just lots of shades of grey. But the central panels on the seat, on the bum bit and the back bit, are both kind of scribbly 90s pattern and then just grey, it looks like kind of velour around the outers. It is majestic.
Well,
it's actually a weirdly nice-looking car, this Demio.
It's of its time, I think.
Ahead of its time in that this one's got a faux bull bar on the front.
Oh, really?
And some quite tasty alloys.
Is that Aegean spec?
Yeah.
What does Aegean mean again? Aegean? Does it mean
Aegean,
old, elderly?
An insurance company. It's got 40,000 miles on it.
My gosh, it'll be so mechanically young.
Johnny, you've got to buy this car.
Oh, this is the problem, you see. There's a lot of... and this is a serious comment now. What with recession and quite a lot of gloom in the world at the moment, it's still quite lovely to see there's cars out there for not a lot of money, let's say under £1,800 that have an enormous amount of life left in them. Enormous. And can be quite satisfying and fun, but also deeply practical. I like the idea of a sort of 90s patterned, mechanically perfect Japanese box. I do quite like that.
Just to seal the deceased spec deal on this Demio, I've just looked at the pictures again.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm pretty certain that
it's not got a tape
the
deck.
near side front bumper is scuffed.
Because
Classic deceased spec. That's the marker of...
That is, of eyes failing.
Grandad's vision is definitely going.
He was an exceptional driver until the last year that he drove, and then he was a very bad driver. And that's
then the old master took a bit of a beating, but it's fine. It's lived to tell the tale, and soon it could be yours.
Well, that Volvo V70
Seriously.
that I keep hawking around, that's what one family from new. That is also deceased.
Yes.
That's one owner
Flippin'
and
heck.
deceased spec, and it has a scrunch on one rear corner, which has cracked the rear light cluster, but someone's put clear plastic over it because that's an old person repair.
Lovely.
And one of the rear arches has been smoothed down with a gate post. It looks like
Smoothed down.
yeah, there's a sort of radius on an arch, and it's just been flattened. Really,
Not anymore. Yeah.
He's obviously gone up against it slowly, but firmly, and so it's
Firmly. Exactly.
but it's
decisive move.
But it's on soft wood, so it's kind of smoothed it rather than scrunched, but nevertheless caused a flattening effect. And I'm a bit. I don't know. I need to get second and third opinions, I think. But let's just say, hopefully, by the next cast, I will have. And I hate to use this term because it's the sort of term that a glistening tip would use. I've pulled the trigger on another car. But let's just see. Let's just see.
Well, the next time we gather to record, we'll be in front of 250 odd people. I mean, about 250. Not that they're going to be odd people. I'm sure some of them will be quite normal at the Bentley factory for
Otlot. On that live
week.
of things at the Bentley factory off of Crewe.
Yeah. So if you are coming to that, we will see you on Wednesday. And we're looking forward to it with a due sense of, oh shit, we've better put in a bit of thought as to what we're going to talk about and things. But so we'll see you there. For the rest of you, we will have the results of Wednesday's Otlot for you to listen to the following Monday, as usual. So you'll be able to hear it then, pending some kind of horrendous technical issue. But
which won't happen, Natch.
It won't. It sort of slightly plays on the mind that it might all fail to record or something like that. But in which case, I don't know. We'll just put on some cartoons like they used to do on the telly in the 80s.
Oh, they did, didn't they, when there was a technical breakdown? Yeah.
So do that.
Can we have?
All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you. Those of you who come in on Wednesday. Should be fun.
Thank you to everyone who's bought a ticket, and thanks to everyone that is a patron to this podcast. I mean, it's a really terrible way to spend money, but it's lovely that people send us messages to say it brings a smile on a Monday morning. Or a lol. I could legitimately use the term lol, even though I can't stand it. It's a lull when you're out on a dog walk with headphones on, etc. There's other examples. I'm just not going to reel them off because you want to shut this podcast down.
I'm afraid I have to. All right, but before I do that, let's canter through three things that I'm going to tell you. They are: one, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Hate Grape Show, in which Johnny meets people with a powerful aversion to vine-grown fruit. This week, he's talking to a bloke called Sam from Corby, who says pictures of Roman orgies make him feel queasy. If that's not up your street because it's bollocks, then there's always The Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos on there about cars and people who love cars. So what have we got at the moment? We have... What did I just watch?
Well, by the time this goes out, there will be an interesting car cave on a chap that's really into 80s and 90s hot hatchery and sportery. Keeping them in a very rustic rural barn, but has some great cars, including an Integrale and a minty McMint Renault 5 Turbo Raider next to a one-lady owner Peugeot 205 GTI, yeah. But loads. I mean, it's got about 20 cars, including an Italia 90 Fiat Panda.
Shit off.
Yes, with all of the Italia 90 shizzle on.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Okay,
so he's an interesting one.
Good. Second thing I've got to tell you is that I have various books out. One of them is called Medium-Sized Book of Boring Car Trivia, the original Ground Zero for Boring Car Trivia books, still on sale, still available from Amazon as a paperback or an ebook. And the third thing I've got to tell you is that Grot Bags was from Somerset.
She was. Was it Weston-super-Mare?
That's the first time that I've got you knew
that.
A bit of trivia.
I knew that. My brother told me about that about 30 years ago. Yeah. No, but that was seriously. It's that's going to be the first one that I get in years. So the next 20 or so I won't get.
Well, I don't know. I might make them all Somerset based, but yes.
Well, can I add another? And there's one other thing that a bit of trivia that's not interesting. There's an exceptional classic car carpet set maker in Wigan called Coverdale. Coverdale UK Limited, and I bought my Allegro carpets from them, but unfortunately, much to my dismay, it isn't run by David Coverdale from Whitesnake, because I was hoping that if you needed a new Wolseley carpet, you'd phone up David would say, no problem, I've got the pattern on the shelf, and he'd sort it for you, but he doesn't.
Why? How does this relate to Grot Bags being from
it
Somerset?
Doesn't. It's just another piece of trivia. It doesn't relate to her. It's just another piece of boring trivia.
Piece of trivia. Okay, right.
But Coverdale UK are based in Coverdale House in Wigan.
Right.
And I like that. I'd love to live in a place called Coverdale House. Wouldn't you?
Well, just
with a
change
pair
the name
of
of your house.
Pair
you
of
can
white.
do that, can't you?
Yeah, you can actually.
Just tell the post office. I live in Coverdale House now.
On that side of things, house. Maybe Otsot House is where we should live. It would be fantastic.
Smith and Sniff's glass-plated headquarters when, I don't know. We get bought by, I don't know.
Who are we going to get bought by?
Want to buy us? That's just not going to happen, is it?
No, the phone's ringing. It's Amazon Prime.
Oh, that lot.
Yeah.
Nice people to do business with.
Yes.
Okay, well, look, that's that for this. And thank you ever so much for listening. For those of you we'll see on Wednesday, looking forward to it. And everyone else, well, you'll hear the results on the following Monday. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye. I am knocking on heaven's door with a number 2 here.
How are you?
Honestly, the wastegate is, yeah.